have with us today a fresher, an aspirant who in his first attempt did not just bell the cat, but went ahead to get a perfect score, 100 percentile. We'd like to welcome Rishi Mittal. Hi Rishi.
Hello Praneeth.
Can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so a bit about myself. I am a final year engineering student at SVNIT Surat. Well, this was my very first attempt, as you said, and I was nervous, no doubt. So apart from my academics, I am into a lot of other things. Like I have done some corporate internships. I have a couple of hobbies to go around. MBA, well, I was determined to do MBA even before my BTech. I mean, there were things that I had a plan. I had like after engineering, I'll be doing MBA. So yes.
Okay. So, you mentioned that you wanted to do an MBA even before a BTech,
Yes.
right? So, what was it about this MBA that allured you so much to get into management?
Well, I feel the most important aspect was the use of the quality people interaction. I mean, my social skills or social intelligence, I feel, is pretty good. My apart from my analytics, so I felt that okay, engineering is important for me, but maybe that is not something I would pursue. And the network that MBA B schools allow, the job opportunities that are there, so those really allured me to pursue this.
Okay. As soon as you saw that 100 percentile, right, that would have been a magical feeling.
No doubt.
Walk us through the first 24 hours of your life just after looking at that 100 percentile score.
Oh well, I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget those 24 hours or I've ever experienced anything of that sort. But as soon as the result came, I was at home, I was with my family, my mom, dad and my brother. So yes, it did hit us that okay, I was 100 percentile. But the gravity of the situation was only realized after I started getting calls from n number of relatives, friends, family, and I started getting calls from different media houses and websites to interview me. So that maybe that is when it hit me and my family that okay, this is something that I've achieved. So this went on not only for 24 hours, but I think the next 72 hours I was flooded with calls and messages and friend requests on Facebook and a lot of attention. So that was something very new, and I think it was a different feeling which I would cherish forever.
That's great. At the outset, I think people only see the 100 percentile.
That is
They don't
true.
see the entire iceberg. They don't know what is the preparation that went into it.
Right.
Right? And our aspirants would love to know, the mantra, the strategy that you adopted, the number of hours you put in, the number of mocks you attempted. So
Right.
can you tell us in detail, what was it for each section that you prepared?
Okay, so first of all, a generic but a very true answer. There is no magic, no mantra, no trick. It's just pure hard work. I mean, you need to keep that in mind. If you are hardworking, if you are, honest towards your studies, if you're diligent, you can do it. Now, getting into the nitty-gritties of my preparation. Well, my overall strategy was comprising of a lot of things. First of all, like any other aspirant, there were times when I used to think that, okay, if this would have been this way, if this section would have come later, or, if situations were there. But at one point when I accepted that, okay, that is not going to change, the pattern is not going to change, the scheme is not going to change. So once you accept that what is there, and what can change is you. So that is where your journey actually starts. After that, there was a lot of things about, getting your concepts clear, getting the right kind of strategies prepared for yourself. I mean, you cannot adopt anyone else's strategy. Yes, you can learn from them, but then you have to make your own strategy that will work for you on the D-Day. Apart from this, I think luck matters a lot. I have seen people working very hard and not getting through, and people not at all working hard, but it is their day. So luck plays an important factor, which is not in your hand. What is in your hand is your hard work. I had offline coaching in Surat, where my college is, and I had online help from iQuanta. So there's a lot of things actually which goes on. I mean, people think that okay, this is like any other exam. You first study and then you get into the exams or the mocks. But I feel mocks actually comprise of the 60-70% of the preparation. Giving the mocks and analyzing them really well. So as for the sectional strategy is concerned, for verbal ability was not my strongest suit. So I had to put in extra efforts for that. I gave a lot of mocks, did a lot of analysis, and kind of tried to develop a mindset or the thinking which is required for the section, because that section is so subjective. You feel that when you have marked the answer it is correct, but when the answer key comes out or when the results come out, it says a different story altogether. So it was important to get into the mindset of the examiner, that why that answer is correct or why that answer is wrong. So that took some time, and maybe I didn't master that, but it was fair enough for me that I could get through. Uh, Apart from that, I think people have this myth that reading a lot or reading novels and editorials is the only way to do it. I think that is not a myth, but I have a confession to make over here, that I have never read a novel in my life, but still I could do it. So without reading a lot, you can do it with the right strategy, because you have to treat that section as a logical reasoning section and not as an English section. Then, as far as VA is concerned, you have questions like parajumble, summary, and odd one out coming in. So you have to have a different approach to each of that. The more experience you get for those questions, the better. Apart from that, the next two sections, DILR and quantitative ability. So those are purely based on experience. The more sets you solve, the more questions you solve, will give you a leverage, and that experience will help you in the examination. Like in DILR, when I started giving mocks, I was able to go for like 3-4 sets. Then towards the end, I was able to touch 6-7 sets. And on the D day, I was lucky enough to solve all the 8 sets. So that is just based on experience. Set selection, the order in which you do sets, recognizing that okay, which is my strength, LR is my strength or DI is my strength, and attacking the section accordingly will really, really help an aspirant. And coming down to quantitative ability, that section requires a lot of things. From mental maths to experience of questions to selection of questions, a lot of things goes into that to making that section a success. I use the ABC strategy which is there for quantitative ability. ABC is what, like, I used to go through the questions one by one, categorize them as A, B, or C. Now A is the section which comprises of questions which I will do in the very first attempt. I find them easy, or they are of the familiar territory, so I'll attack them first. Then comes the B questions, which are maybe they are more calculative, or maybe I'm not sure looking at the question that I'll be able to solve or not. Finally comes the C section, which is the set of questions which are tough, or which are of the section which I am really scared of. Maybe geometry was always my the last attempt thing. So following this strategy will not only help an aspirant save time during the exam, but also get more confidence, because if you're doing questions which you know in the very beginning, and if you're able to solve, say, 5 questions in the first 15 minutes, that gives you a confidence that okay, this section is going good. So with that, I think quantitative ability is more about mental math. People think that using an on-screen calculator is a sin. It's not. I used it a lot, but it has a cost. You lose out on time. So if you can cover that, you can use it, absolutely no issues. So more or less that is my strategy for the sections and overall preparation.
That was very comprehensive. I'm sure our aspirants have a lot to learn from that.
Right.
I'd want you to detail out a bit about mock and analysis.
Right.
How important is that during your preparation, and what should be the right approach to giving mocks and then analyzing them?
Right. Okay, so as I said, mocks are, as per my understanding, 60 to 70% of the complete preparation, right? So when you're giving a mock, you should be able to give it in different scenarios. Like I gave it at my center, offline center. I also gave the online mocks at my hostel room, where there's a lot of hustle bustle going on. So if you're able to give a mock in different scenarios and perform consistently well, that will help you on the CAT day when you don't know how the situation will be, how much will be the noise level, because where we are. So then what happens is you might have some processions going out, you might have some celebrations going around. So if you're used to giving mocks in different scenarios, it will be easier that day. Then as far as mock attempt is concerned, the order is fixed, you cannot do anything. For me, what I used to do is, since I cannot read continuously, what I used to do for the VARC, that is the first section, I used to do one RC, then I used to do two VA questions, then one RC, then two VA questions, and so on and so forth. So that my mind is getting a change. I'm not just reading RCs continuously. But again, that is something I found by giving multiple mocks, trying different strategies. Then for DILR, what I used to do is, my LR is a stronger suit, I feel. So I used to start with an LR set to gain confidence, 1 or 2 LR sets. If I'm able to do them pretty fast, then I should go for a DI set and then an LR set and so on. So understanding your strength, designing your own order is very important. You just can't go in the section and start doing first, second, third set and so on. That it might not be the best strategy to go about. Then comes the QA section, and as I discussed in my strategy, QA I used to do the ABC approach, and that is how my attempt of the mock is used to be. And as far as analysis is concerned, that is the most important part of CAT preparation. For VRC, as I said, getting into the mindset of the examiner, that why that option is right or why that option is wrong, was important. So even if I got a question right, I used to see, okay, whether the explanation given matches my mindset or my thought process during the examination. And I would try to do the analysis as soon as possible. I mean, every day that you delay, you forget what you were thinking during the exam. And I think that is important to know as for the VRC section is concerned. So that is how you should go for VRC analysis, to try to get into the mindset of the examiner. That is all that you can do. Then for DILR, usually I did not analyze the sets which I got correct. And if my timing was less than the average time, so that is, I think that is a clear area. I used to see complete analysis or complete video solution of the section of the sets that I got incorrect or I left. And if that set was doable, if there was a easier way to do it or anything on those lines. So this is basically to gain experience of sets, because we see that the sets are different, no doubt, but somewhere they follow a pattern. So if you're able to recognize and categorize it, okay, sports sets, LR sets, arrangement sets, and the macro categories. So then you can have an approach or a strategy for each type of set, and doing mocks, giving mocks, and analyzing them on this level will help you crack those. As for QA is concerned, I did not usually see any questions that I got correct, and I just used to see, okay, which question I got wrong, which area was that from, and if I saw that, okay, this area is frequenting in my mocks, that I'm getting a geometry question wrong every time, 2-3 mocks. So then I used to go back to my concepts and revise those, that okay, I might be missing out on some theoretical knowledge. So that is how my analysis went about.
You mentioned about using an online platform for your preparation. Right? So in today's era, how important do you think these online platforms are, and how do you think they aid the preparation?
Right. I think the online platforms are really useful especially for the people who are working or who are uh, doing a degree parallelly to the CAT preparation, because we have a very tight schedule. Myself, I'm in a college, so I have a tight schedule as far as my classes are concerned, labs are concerned, and my college coursework is concerned. So getting that flexibility on offline classes is a bit difficult at times, because they have the set schedule, set timings, and all. So with online coaching, even if you miss a class, suppose, so you have that content as it is over there, so you can access it anytime. Even if you want to repeat the same thing, you can do it. That is maybe not possible in offline coaching mostly. So that is I think the most important aspect when it comes to online coaching. Apart from that, the on online coaching like iQuanta, you have people from all backgrounds, all academic backgrounds as well as non-academic. So your doubts get solved instantly, and you get to learn a lot. I used to follow the questions which are posted on iQuanta. I used to solve them. I used to learn from the solutions given by people, because everyone has their own perspective, and I used to learn if there's a new method which I did not know. Even for non-academic doubts which were there, since people of all age groups are there, and so they know things. So you get a lot of help when it comes to non-academic questions as well. So I think online coachings are extremely important for multiple reasons, as I said.
Right. This year in CAT 2019, there have been 10 100 percentiles.
Right.
And unfortunately, they're not very widespread in terms of differences in their profiles. They're all male and coming from engineering technology background.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, I feel that's purely coincidental, because I don't think there is any exam which is fairer than CAT. I mean, I've not given a lot of them, but as far as what I have heard, CAT is extremely fair when it comes to an aspirant. It does not give you, engineering questions like integration, differentiation, right? It gives quantitative questions which are common to the coursework of all streams, be it arts, be it commerce, or be it engineering. Apart from that, the logical reasoning section and the VA section, they are new territory for everyone. So I think the playing field is pretty level. So all the 10 being from the same background, being male, I feel it's pretty coincidental because I have seen past records. I have my seniors who are from non-engineering background, who are females, who have got 100 percentile. So it's just coincidence, nothing more.
You've scored 100 percentile, and I'm sure you'd want to make the most of it.
Right,
So how do you plan to leverage your score and tackle the interviews?
right. Well, I personally am not considering my score as any leverage or any head start that I might get in an interview. I am trying to prepare just like any other aspirant who has got a call, right? So, as for my interview strategy is concerned, I being a fresher, I don't have much of a work experience. So, I have not faced a lot of interviews to be very honest. So, I'm still trying to get a hang of it of what is an interview, how to prepare for it, and what are the things that I need to prepare. I'm not even sure about those. So, I don't really have a preparation strategy for interviews right now, but I'll be doing that soon.
That's great. Everyone, as I mentioned, sees that 100 percentile and not the tip of the iceberg below the water.
Right.
What have been some challenges that you faced in this journey? Because
Right.
that's how people will know that even they are going to be able to solve and crack CAT.
Correct. Challenges, I think everyone has their own set of challenges when it comes to CAT preparation, be it on personal and professional end, academic end, or any end. I feel the main challenge for me was to balance CAT along with college. I mean, yeah, college does help you when you're preparing for exams, but at the end you have to do the assignments, the lab work, the vivas, the practicals, the mid-sem and sems and all of that. So preparing CAT parallel to those things was the biggest challenge. I mean, I had to literally squeeze out time from my schedule because I had classes from morning till evening, and then the rest of the day we had some coachings, right? So there was not much time left for self preparation or practicing and all. So I think making the best use of my vacations and early morning slots before the classes, some late night slots after the classes, that is how I used to squeeze time. Apart from that, I did not stay very well throughout the preparation. So that was another challenge because if you're healthy, you can do anything. But that is one place where if you're not on the perfect area, it becomes difficult.
Right. So, I'm sure that you wouldn't spend 24 hours studying, right? There
Right.
would be times where you would do something else apart from studying. Can you tell us how important it was to relax yourself, keep yourself off studies, and what is it that you would do?
In my opinion, even I tell this to my friends and other CAT 2020 aspirants who I know personally. CAT is all about mindset. If you have the right mindset, you can crack the mocks, you can crack the CAT. But if you don't have that, if you're not, at peace, it becomes very difficult to prepare or give an exam. So apart from my studying, I used to play chess. I used to play the guitar at times. If I'm at home, I used to cook because that is pretty satisfying. I used to chill out with my friends and go out bowling or something. So yeah, if you plan things, if you can plan that okay, this is the time I'll study, this is the time I'll relax. So that relaxation time, that those activities that you pursue, will not make you feel guilty. So with right planning, I think you can balance this.
That's great. Finally, I'd like for you to give us some words of wisdom for aspirants who are tuning in. What is it that they can do to crack a score that you have?
Well, as I said, that even my score was a pleasant surprise to me. So I don't know a lot, but okay, I feel that being honest to yourself, that okay, accepting if your mock goes bad, if your section goes bad, if you don't know a topic, accepting that firstly, and improving that, and not just thinking okay, this is bad, I need to work on it, but actually doing it will help. Then staying determined, because there'll be times, there'll be a high, there'll be a low. I still remember there were mocks wherein I got 18 marks in VRC or 19 marks in DILR. So I had those scores on my mark sheet. So with that, still staying determined, staying strong, and going on, persevering. That is what actually gets you through.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Before I let you go, we have a fun segment for you with rapid fire.
Okay.
We'll ask you some easy questions and you can go ahead and answer them.
Okay.
One thing you'd like to change about yourself?
I'm very lazy.
Okay. What was your lowest percentile during your mocks?
97.
Oh. If you had to spend a day with a politician, who would it be and why?
I think that will be Barack Obama. That's the first name that comes to my mind. Just because I have seen multiple pics and videos of his and how cool he is with everyone and the way he carries himself, his outlook towards things.
Okay.
I really appreciate that and I love to spend a day with him.
Okay. What do you think is your biggest strength?
I think my biggest strength is my quick learning. I can grasp things very fast.
Okay. Who's your celebrity crush?
Gal Gadot.
Oh, would you like to elaborate on that?
Wonder Woman movie. I don't think anyone needs to say anything more.
Okay. Who do you want to wake up as tomorrow?
Doraemon.
What made you choose iQuantum?
Well, I feel the classes, the timing of the classes that were at night, that is 10 to 12, really made it easy to attend them because there is no commitment at that time mostly. Apart from that, the instant doubt solving on that group was really beneficial.
Okay. And finally, if you were invisible for a day, what's
Yeah.
the first thing you'll do?
I'll dance like actually no one is seeing.
Thank you so much, Rishi, for being with us today. As a token of appreciation, we have a little bit something for you.
Well,
Thank you so
very
much.
much.